Hi Krishna, Ram joined. Okay, I will leave the call.
Yeah, thank you.
All the best. Ram.
Yeah, thanks, Praveen. Hi, Krishna. Good morning.
Hi. Morning. Good evening. Yeah. Sorry, I was on another call.
No problem.
Give me a sec. Can you just brief me about your like .NET Core experience and latest project, and run me through some of the challenges that you faced, probably through your introduction?
Yeah, I have working as team lead, and I have worked as .NET MVC as well as .NET Core. And what we have done is we one of the application was developed .NET MVC. We have converted from .NET MVC to .NET Core. We are migrating, and coming to the challenges which has been faced in terms of the database segregation, like in a monolithic application, the database was segregated in a single database, and in the microservices application, the database has to be divided into that each service wise, I can say. Those cases we have faced some couple of issues to maintain or separate the databases, and to implement that the scripts once it has to go move to production. We have to give the pre-deployment script and post-deployment script to divide that entire database as a microservices architecture. We have used different Azure components like Azure Service Bus, Azure Key Vault Services, App Insights, and Azure Event Hub, as well as like we have done a few of the POCs by using the Cosmos DB2. Apart from that, we have also used Azure App Services, Web Apps as well, Web Apps as well, load balancing concepts in Azure, Krishna.
Can you explain what are the equivalent services that you move to Azure when you are moving it from monolith to a service-based architecture?
Yeah, we you mean to say from MVC application we are migrating those services we are expecting, or whatever the Azure services we have used in our app?
No, maybe through a use case. Like, can you explain maybe a use case wherein you this was the original and now this is how we change it to something like that?
Correct. Yeah, earlier it was authentication was implemented as AD, Azure Active Directory, and now we have moved that all the authentication, authorization resources, and we'll converting as a one of identity services by using Identity 4. And these are we are maintaining in terms of the roles, claims, and what are the accessing for the particular user by using the jar token. And the same thing earlier, the monolith application, the purchase order and material management has to be tied up in a single module. Now we have moved from all these things in terms of a monolith application to microservices to achieve. It's the conversion was not completed. We are migrating from monolith to microservices. Once completion of done, we are using for first is identity server. In terms of identity services was completed, and after that material management and vendor management is completed. Now it is in the testing phase.
So when you are converting from say MVC or ASP.NET to ASP.NET Core, what is the advantage that you get actually, or like can you compare what is different in ASP.NET Core to ASP.NET?
Yeah, as part of my understanding in my experience, what we have faced is we have developed one of the function application or functionality in MVC. It's a single monolith application. What it is happening is some of the bug was not tested in the QA team as well as the UAT team also. There is some of the functionality was missed for testing. That function while they are using into that while the functionality was moved to the production, what it is happening is the application is crashing. In those cases, what it is happening is the entire business has to be stopped for application. We have to make some patches of that application. Those cases, the business hours are going to be waste, as well as the production is also stopped due to the because of this bug. Those cases, what it will happen is we have to stop entire application. But if you use that convert a monolith application to the microservices, if you have a bug in one of the module, we can able to fix that specific module individually, and we can use the asynchronous programming to get that messages by using the Azure Service Bus or whatever the asynchronous mechanism.
So these Azure services will not access through ASP.NET?
Azure Services
with the ASP.NET framework?
I did not get your question exactly. Can you explain?
So why we want to move to core? That's what my question
Yeah.
is. Why can't we do this integration with ASP.NET itself, framework itself?
Sorry, I did not get your question.
Why we need to move to ASP.NET core?
Yeah, basically it's a platform independent. We can able to host our application with the different versions, different OSs like Windows and as well as Linux. By using the .NET Core, we are using the meta packages. It will not load of entire package at a time. We can able to load whatever the necessary packages. It is a freeware. We can able to implement our application with the.
So except for open source and except for the libraries, there is no much difference between ASP.NET Core and ASP Core services. Is that what you're saying?
No, ASP.NET Core is a tightly coupling, and the tightly coupling in the sense it has to be depend one on each other. In the MVC, we can able to MVC core we can able to define as a separately in terms of modularized based application.
Then that is a better one, right? MVC is a better option than ASP.NET Core, right?
Correct. ASP.NET Core is better, but if you implement a monolithic, if you have that any of the issues is happening and any of the bug is came on the production, we have to stop entire application, and the team is waiting for to fix that issue, even though the fix is not related to their module.
So when you break this into microservices, how do you use this new microservice approach? What are the changes that you do to make sure that each microservices is working fine independent of others? What do we do?
We have to define that a modularized what the functionality has to divide it into the each module wise. If we need to have that any of the module is need to communicate with each other, we need to do that asynchronous communication by using that service bus or RabbitMQ. Then if something is happening on the one of the services, we don't want to bother about if the other users they can able to run that application.
Okay, how do you create a dependency between two microservices? How do you resolve that?
Dependency we can able to achieve by using a master distributed transactions. We can able to use the some transaction ID or order ID. We will be use that same thing between the two microservices.
Have you worked on any patterns in microservices?
Yeah, we have used the CQRS pattern and mass transient also we have used
Can you just explain CQRS pattern?
Yeah, CQRS pattern. I will divide up entire the code operation into the comments and queries, and what it will happen is I have an option of primary and secondary replica databases. Primary database is able to read and write, and secondary database will be able to get the records in terms of read only. In these cases, all the commands I want to move to primary database. I need to define a handler. Handler will taking care of that command handler and query handler. Command handler will get taking as an input of commands of DDL, and it will try to insert or update the data. And query handlers will get the data from the database. We basically it's the pattern. By using this pattern, each one is having an handlers will handle that incoming request and perform an operation.
Okay. Suppose there is an example like there is an e-commerce application.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, e-commerce application will have some inventory of products.
Mm-hmm.
And some customer addresses that they have to do. Okay. And some customer details. So in this case, if you have, it is a monolith application now. Okay. So if we are breaking this up into microservices, mm-hmm. how do you design these services? Like what are the services that you think you design, how the DB model would be?
Yeah, Yeah, it's a very tough question. Yeah, but I can able to explain as I can. I want to define that all the users information into the identities, as well as all the what is the items are available in as in one service. One is an inventory service. They basically the inventory. We need to define the three services here: user service, order service, and inventory service. Inventory service basically it will get that it will check before after acknowledge the order, it will try to response to the user whether the items are available for further processing. If it is not available, it will send as hope we will get new orders in soon, like that.
Okay. So you defined APIs, right?
Correct.
When you define an APIs, how do you make sure that API security is maintained?
API security is maintained. We are using authorize attribute and to check that policies, and we will be able to check off. We will be able to write our own filter before proceeding further action for a particular controller action method.
Okay, how do you introduce dependency injection in APIs?
Dependency injection we can inject by using a constructor level.
Okay.
And those interfaces and implementation has to be registered at the time of application startup. If it is an MVC, we use the inject or some other third-party framework. If it is .NET Core, by default it will supported by using the iServices collection.
Okay. What are the different dependency injections that you use in the startup class?
Different dependency injection. We can able to use that. I believe we have used the constructor level only, but we can also define a method level or property level also.
So within startup class, if you are doing, you can have 3 to 4 types, right?
Okay. Per call, transient, and per session, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you know the difference?
Yes, I know the difference.
Can you just explain?
Yeah, singleton in the sense the maintaining of a session, like the maintaining of an object in a container, it has to be taken care only one. It won't create a multiple instance if we declare any dependencies by using the singleton.
So if you don't create multiple instances, how do you ensure that?
If you mention as a singleton, it will use the singleton design pattern. It will give us an instance which is already created. It won't create a duplicate instance, and it will the dependency injection life cycle. It will try to check what is an object and what is the scope. Based on the scope, it will maintain the life cycle of objects.
So if you are, have you ever used caching?
We have used the IAS cache.
Like in-memory cache?
Yeah, in-memory caches.
Can you explain like how?
Yeah, we have master database, like we have the master records, like in terms of the customer, in terms of the addresses and all the things. We are saving those information into the IAS in-memory cache by using the key and the value pair. Initially, I have requested for get all the masters, like get all customers. It will try to fetch the data from the database, and it will check whether the key is available in memory collection or not. If not, it will go to the database. If it will go to the database, it will fetch the data and it will save into the in-memory cache as a key, like a customer underscore region ID underscore some of the unique property of a customers.
How do you fetch this into cache? Is it through hash map, or how do you do that?
Initially we need to get the data into the from the database, and we will push into the hash sheet.
Okay, but in case application crashes, this hash tables will have the data, or it will not have?
It will not have the data.
It will?
It will not have the data.
So where does that, how does this data set gets unloaded, or like, how does this happen?
Yeah. We have given one UI, like like one of controller action method. We will get that all the in-memory cached keys, And whenever the user want to clear or unload the cache, they will check it and they will clear the cache. It will remove from the in-memory collection. The request is go to the again fetch to the database and it will load into the in-memory. Otherwise, if you reset the AS also, it will clear the cache.
Okay. So, have you worked on any anti-patterns?
But the name wise, no. Yeah, no. Maybe I was working, but I don't know the name of the anti-pattern. Like.
Okay. How do you resolve the cross-cutting concerns within microservices?
You mean to say we can also use the TTL, time to leave, and we'll use the dead letter queue, and this dead letter queue will we will review it and we will send that information to the client. They will resolve. They will try to change that the request, and it will try to make that communication as happen to the in between the two microservices.
How do you maintain a reliability of a microservice, like a circuit breaker implementation or something?
By using poly, we can mention as how many requests it has to be requested. Like if it is any of the hand, if you are getting of any unhandled exception like that, how many times it has to be looped through. By using the poly, we can able to achieve it.
Okay, and like this retry method, is it configurable or is it like how do you maintain this?
Yeah, as of my application, we have mentioned as an static only. But if you need, we can also maintain as a configurable to get that values from the configuration. We can mention it. But as a configurable, I haven't worked.
Okay. So, you worked as a lead, right? So,
Correct.
in terms of like process, like what are all the, I mean, what is your release management and what are the sources that you are using?
We are using Azure DevOps. We have two teams, like a CapEx team and Apex team. CapEx team is completely in terms of the new development and new requirement. These every 3 weeks we have a release, and 2 weeks is for development, 1 week for QA and UAT testing, and the third week we have also the same thing to get the next release items for analysis purpose. This is all comes under into a development branch. If we consider as one of the source code, we have the two branches. One is development branch, one is master branch. Like development branch will go to that normal development of regular releases. If you have any of urgents or blockers or P1 issues, those cases we will try to create a hotfix branch from the master, and it will go to the every weekend, like every Friday we will release of whatever the urgent release. If it is a P1s, we have to release once it is fixed on within a given 1 or 2 hours or 3 hours of the time.
So you maintain Azure DevOps for everything, right?
Correct. Azure DevOps for CI/CD and maintaining, we are using Jira as a project management tool to BRD discussions and assign the task and change the statuses.
How do you estimate a task actually or a user story? How do you do that?
It depends on the what is the requirement which has been mentioned on a BRD. Like if you want to have to define a UI page, to define that a database access, to define the table, it has to be defined. We need to divide entire task or story into the some smaller tasks, and based on our previous experience, what we have implemented in a particular one of the screen and one of the UI. If it is a UI side, we will definitely take from help from the other UI professional guys if needed. And it's we need to define the tasks story into the small task, and based on the task we can give the story points. If it is a 1 day, it is like one story point. If it is a 2 days, like two story points, like that. Based on the story points, based on the what is the functionality has to be performed as part of acceptance criteria. These are all the things has to be considered to give before giving the estimation. It has to be plus 10 or minus 10 based on complexity.
And worked on SQL Server database?
Yeah, we have.
Any other database you are aware of?
I have used Azure Table Storage, and I have basic knowledge on Cosmos DB.
Okay, now SQL also you know.
Yes, I know.
So coming to event-driven programming, if you ask me event-driven programming, like where it will be used and have you used this?
Yeah, basically, if you use the like, let's say microservices, right? If there is a the order information and inventory information, there is a the communication between the two systems. We have to use the event-based communication. If we give that order, if the order is acknowledged, if the order is getting succeeded, but we have to maintain the same information into the inventory too. Those cases, there is a two-way communication is needed. If in those cases, we will go with the event based communication.
Okay. So how do you? I mean, there is something called see, Azure side. I am not sure. Sorry. There is something called a step function.
Correct.
Like dependency between two services. So, is there any equivalent in Azure?
Azure, we have used the function app. You can able to get it.
Okay, that will have the
dependency
created.
Yeah.
If this function completes, then only
Correct.
this function should come.
Correct. You can able.
So that's like a metadata, right? That would be like a metatable or something like that.
Yes,
right?
we can able to use.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. And thanks. Yeah. So in terms of store procs or in terms of materialized views, have you worked on this?
I have used the stored procedure, and I have used the view, and I heard about the materialized view. What I felt is, if you use the materialized view as part of implementation wise, I haven't used the materialized. Basically, I know the theory part of materialized view. It will cast that the table information into the materialized view. If to improve the performance of an application, if it is some static data.
Yeah. I think I'm good actually. Database side a bit more. May need to prepare. Probably there will be one more round.
Okay.
All goes well. And Azure services you need to explore more.
Okay.
Okay. You worked on any orchestration of Dockerized services?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we have used the Docker desktop.
I did go through because I'm from the AWS, so let me be honest actually. So I just don't have that understanding. I mean, I have a high level.
Oh, okay.
So I want you to prepare for the next round if it happens actually.
Sure, Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are from Guntur or what?
Guntur, yeah. Yes.
Okay. And Hyderabad actually, why is that mentioned?
Oh, okay. Great.
See, thanks. Yeah. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Krishna.
Yeah.
I want to know what are the tech stacks he's using in project.
It's mostly same.
Like, are we using any microservices or?
Yes. Yeah. We are going to use.
Okay.
It's Azure microservices with the .NET Core.
Sure. Yeah.
And UI might be different, but I think this component we are more clear. We need to be more clear.
Okay. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Thanks, Raj. Yeah.
Thank you. Bye bye.